Hey guys, welcome to Social Studies with Miss McBride. And yes, I'm here with my Edith glasses because she's going to help us get through this lesson. So here's our lesson standard for Georgia, which is SS3H1. It's describe early American Indian cultures and the development in North America, and then locate those regions where they settled. The Arctic, the Northwest, Southwest Plains, Northeast, and Southeast. But this week, or for this lesson, we're going to specifically talk about the Northwest. Let's continue. Here's our learning target. I can research vocabulary associated with American Indians, and then I can locate those regions. So the keywords here is the vocabulary and the Northwest region. Now, where is the Northwest region? Where? The Northwest region, if we all take a look at my map, is right here in the corner of Washington in the United States, and then it goes all the way up to Canada and just kind of touches on Alaska, okay? The Kwakiutl Indians lived on the Pacific Northwest coast of Canada. Kwakiutl. Let's say that together. Kwakiutl. Kwakiutl. Very good. But what did the Kwakiutl eat? Well, they ate fish, and they ate deer, and they ate moose and berries and whales. Anything that was associated and close by the sea are the primary things that they ate because that is where they lived. Now here's a map of the United States and all the places that the American Indians live. We have Arctic, subarctic, and all these areas, but the Kwakiutl were right over here, just on this little strip of the Northwest coast. Now if we look at this picture, what can you tell us about their culture? Let's use this informational text to pull information out, because this is an illustration, which is a form of informational text. So we can look at the picture and kind of determine things about their culture. Well, I see headdresses, I see statues, and what I pull from this is that they have a very rich culture with ceremonies and traditions that they've passed down from generation to generation. Take a moment. And what region did they live again? The Northwest, that's right. Now this area was heavily forested with plenty of vegetation and the various forms of wildlife to support their culture. Okay, and those states were Oregon, Washington, Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, and the southeast Alaska. They may have ventured this far over, but for the most part, they stayed in that strip. Again, here are all of the regions that the American Indians live in, all 6, and we're just on that Northwest region. Here are our vocabulary words. American Indians, a member of any of the indigenous people of North, Central, and South America, especially those in North America. Locate, to identify or discover the place. Regions, an area or space. Culture is a pattern of behavior shared by a society or a group of people. It includes food, language, clothing, tools, music, art, customs, belief, and religion, like the culture in my house is. And development, which is growth. Now, the Kwakiutl food. The climate was bountiful, so food was plentiful. The Kwakiutl ate fish, mostly salmon, bear, caribou, deer, elk, moose, clams, berries, and other assorted sea creatures. The Kwakiutl art was totem poles and copper jewelry. So we have some pictures here, some fishing. There's that salmon. They even ate whale. Think of how skilled they had to be and work together as a team to catch a whale. And there's a sea otter. Now, the Kwakiutl children, they lived in good communities together where they worked together in order to survive. So here's some pictures of some of the children. And as you see, this transportation device is how they moved the children around who couldn't walk. So kind of like slayed them around where they carried them. And here's some information about their clothing. So they had their traditional costumes. Now, if we go back to their informational text picture, we'll see that they were in their traditional costumes. And the men usually wore nothing at all, though some wore loincloths. There was cedar bark dress, where the women would make skirts for themselves out of the cedar bark. And then there was breath clothes, which was a single piece of cloth wrapped around the hips, typically worn by men in some hot countries as their only garment, as you can see this picture. So what was the climate like in Northwest? So when I say climate, I'm really talking about the weather. So whenever you hear someone say climate, they're like, what's the weather? So the Kwakiutl lived in a very rainy climate with 4 seasons and many natural resources. So if we think back to the Arctic region, there really was just 2 seasons, but it was still very, very, very cold. But for the Kwakiutl, the Northwest, they got all 4. And they wore bark blankets, fur coats, skirts, breechcloths, and only on special occasions they wore moccasins. Many Kwakiutl lived in longhouses, also known as plank houses. And there's a short video about their culture. So let's continue to talk about their food. So there's that bear. I would be not want to catch a bear, but again, they work together as family and a community to capture these whales and bears in order to survive. There's a black turtle and elk. And they had fish and they had berries. They had a plentiful and bountiful amount of food. Now, for transportation, they designed canoes of many sizes and forms that allowed them to travel up and down the Pacific Northwest. And the main form of transportation was, I'm sorry, the canoes were their main source of transportation until the Euro colonization. And there's a picture of it here. Now, the Inuit people of the Arctic also used canoes as a form of transportation in the Arctic. Now, here's what they used their houses. They had plank houses and long houses, and there's a picture of one. And there's their totem poles, okay? Shelters in this region were mainly built out of wood and bark from the surrounding forest. That is a tactic that is still used to this day, even for modern homes in Alaska and Canada. They use the trees around them to build houses. Use those resources. And what are totem poles? Boom, boom, boom. Totem poles are monuments created by First Nations of the Pacific Northwest to represent and commemorate, which means celebrate, ancestry, histories, people, or events. Most totem poles display beings or crest animals, marking a family's lineage and validating the powerful rights and privileges that the family held. So each family had their own totem pole representing the lineage in their family and really their position within the tribe. So here we are at 2 additional videos. Go ahead and click the link and you'll be able to see them. So let's name the people that lived in the Northwest region of North America. Kwakiutl, very good. What is the name of their shelter? That's right, they lived in plank houses. That's one. What is the climate or weather where they live? Well, they got all 4 seasons, but it was very rainy there. And what types of food did they eat? They ate creatures from the sea, berries, bears, caribou, deer, all those types of things. And how did they use their environment to live? They used all the natural resources around them in order to survive. And this was our social studies lesson this week. We reviewed this and we had an additional article that we're going to read about the Kwakiutl, and we'll get back to that. So if you don't have any other questions, just let me know. Thank you.